tell me should thoroughly understand any financial products they already own, such as debt instruments, insurance, and savings vehicles. Did the company that sold your financial products in the past take the time to make sure you understand how all your products work and how they work together? You think any client has actually had somebody explain everything about their products? No, it's never happened. Not in the time I've been here so far, it hasn't happened. Thirdly, we shop the industry. That's the S. For our clients to see if we can lower their costs, increase their rate of return, protect against loss, or possibly decrease or eliminate their taxes. Do you feel like any of the companies you've done business in the past did all of that for you?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So what else did I do by saying that?
You're doing minor closes with each one.
Right. I'm getting them to think that they probably need to get a plan done. And I'm also getting them to think that the person that sold them all this stuff didn't explain it to them.
So it's either doubt on what they already
Exactly. You put a little bit of a doubt there. You got to kind of be careful with that too, because the longer I've been here, the more I've seen other WFG agents that have done financial plans before I got there. So just that's when you ask them what they know about the company. Oh, I had this guy out here before, so just be careful, right?
Well, who their existing planner is, what the relationship is.
Yeah.
What do you do in that circumstance?
I just know that if it was I ask them who it was, I ask them what office it was, and usually if they tell me that, or if I've never heard of the office before, they don't do things the way we do anyway. So I know I'm going to do a better job for them anyway.
So
I just don't want to say anything bad about the planner if I know it's a WFG person.
So you can take someone else's plan and have them roll it over into something.
Depends if that's something that would be good for them. Yeah, I just did one for a
So
client.
it's not a conflict of interest.
No, if it's one of our products, you can be the agent. It's the client decides who their agent are. It's not the agent. If that guy hasn't seen him in 5 years,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give him a piece of paper and say, hey, how would you like me to look at your policies for you? Who's gonna say no?
Right.
It's just a piece of paper they have to sign that says they want me to be their agent. Okay, shop the industry. Number 4. Finally, after reviewing their current financial situation, you notice I'm not saying that we're going to review your financial situation. I'm saying that when we help clients, the 4th thing that we like to do is we want to review their current financial situation, and if it's appropriate, we recommend any new strategies that would help them reach their short, mid, and long-term goals. Isn't that something that everyone could benefit from, including you? Because I guarantee you, even if they met with, I shouldn't say this, because there are some WFG offices that don't do any kind of data collect or financial needs analysis, but even if they met with another person, they probably didn't do all this stuff for them, right? We met with, who was the lady we met with, the guy, it was the guy. Edward Jones or Merrill Lynch or somebody had a bunch of money with them, and they never even did an asset allocation for him. Remember that? It was the Polish guy.
Yeah. They did an asset allocation once upon a time, and then every once in a while, but I mean, if he wants advice from them, he has to actually drive to the office, walk in, ask for some specific stuff. And it's funny, because when they ask for the specific stuff, they just spit it out based on an asset allocation that he gave them, 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah. So here's the 4th.
I fired my last insurance guy because of that.
Yeah, you probably had a good reason to. But number 5. This is the 5th pre-frame. Christopher calls this the 5th pre-frame. I usually say 4 because it's easier to remember there's 4 pre-frames and 5 closes, so that way you don't have to think about which one is which. So the 5th one is there anything else you wanted to add to the agenda? And make sure that you write that down, because what they're going to tell you next is the most important thing. It's the whole reason they were talking about before you even got there. Right? There's something that they're thinking. They're thinking something. They're either thinking this guy's trying to sell me something, or maybe he can help me, or maybe there's a question. I've always wanted to ask somebody about life insurance, or I've always wanted to ask somebody about my 401k. So you always ask that question, and then you write it down. Because guess what you want to do? You want to cover that. Not right now, but you're going to cover it. Great. You want to add that to the agenda? Great. Okay. And now, planting the seeds for future introductions. Those are, that's a code word for referrals. My 3rd set of questions are to plant the seeds for future introduction people we can help. So did the training tell you how much this was going to cost?
No.
I get all kinds of funny looks at that one. Like mostly mad. Do you know that there's financial advisors that charge a fee?
Yes.
You guys all know that, right? So they may think that's a legitimate question. Did they tell you how much it was going to cost? Have you ever had someone put together a comprehensive written financial plan for you? How much did it cost? Did you know most financial planners charge between $350 to $1,500 each time they sit down with you? And how do I know that? Because my wife has some cousins that live in Big Bear and met with an American Express, which is now Ameriprise, and the guy charges them $350 every time he sits down with them. Because they don't have a lot of money. He's not making any money on their investments. So he's charging them every single time he sits down with them. I'm sure we both know it doesn't cost $1,500 to put together a plan. Everything's on computer now. It doesn't cost $1,500 to put together all the information. So why do you think they charge so much? Let me ask a question. Even if you knew the information was more than worth it, how many of your friends and family would you advise to have this done if you knew they were all going to get charged $1,500 each? There's probably some of them you wouldn't even let them know just because you knew they couldn't afford it, right? So what did I do? I just told them that I'm not going to charge them anything, and I'm not going to charge their family anything either, or their friends. We don't charge anything because for what we do because we believe every family is better off having a written plan and deserves to have access to the same financial information most companies reserve for the wealthy. Don't you believe that? Don't you believe that? It's even in our company motto of no family left behind. Isn't that awesome? The only thing that we do ask, I never say the word free. What I told them is it doesn't cost them anything, right? The only thing that we do ask is that if you feel the information we're going to share with you tonight is important, that you'll help us pass it on to people that you know and care about. Does that sound fair enough? That's only your opinion. I haven't earned the referral yet. I'm telling you, if you think it's a good thing, would you be willing to refer other people? If they agree, then I hand them a referral sheet. I call it a referral sheet. I always use a blue card, so I always know it's the blue card when I come back and ask for it again. So you can use whatever you want. You can use just a piece of paper or something. Just say, hand them something so that when you're going through the presentation, they're thinking of people, and you get them to write the names down. I always say this. All I want you to do is write the name down. I'm not going to ask for any phone numbers. I'm not going to ask you even to call them until you see what I can do. I just don't want you to forget the people that you care about, that you think might need this information. We'll figure out later on how we're going to get a hold of them. Okay. That gives them the reason to write the names down. Okay. I call it the Helping Us Help Others sheet. That actually used to be a form that you could order online, but you can't order it online anymore. But I do have it on my computer. Let's see. Tell them you'll not be asking for any names tonight, and we'll discuss later on the best way to get in touch with them. Tell them this is really important. Do you guys know anybody that's competitive?
Yes.
Okay. People are competitive, and you never know who they are. It's usually the quiet ones, like Isabel. Just kidding. Isabel's very competitive. She doesn't show it, but she is. Trust me, she is. You get her into like a contest where she challenges you, she's cutthroat. I know it. She is. Yes, she is. Don't ever challenge her to anything. Trust me.
She looks so sweet.
I know. That's what I just told you. I just told you that. Tell them you'll not be asking for any names tonight, and we'll discuss later. We used to do this thing where we put we should do this in this office. Everybody put in $1, and let's say we're going to have guests coming next week, hopefully more than one. Whoever has the most guests, everybody puts in $1. Whoever has the most guests gets all the dollar bills. I guarantee you, Isabel will win if we do that. She'll find people from the Philippines, fly them in here, just to win the pot.
So Jim, why don't you tell them it's free?
Oh, because free sounds like it's not worth anything.
Oh, it's not valuable.
Right? I actually am going to ask them to do something in order to pay for it, and that is giving referrals. And the last one is the commitment to do business. So I'll do that at the very end. I'll tell you that. Tell them the average. Okay, so here's the competitive. The average family we sit down with normally introduces us to at least 10 people that need our help, and that some of our clients have introduced us to hundreds of people. How many of you have a recruit on your team? How many recruits have written down a top 100 list? So didn't they refer you to 100 people?
Yeah.
That's true, right? Okay. I never like to say anything that's not true, because Louis will catch me if I do.
Yep. Before you
Oh, I didn't know what happened.
HR.
Maybe I do need to push this for me. Okay, the TRC. So some of you have never heard of a TRC. It's called a Trust, Respect, Customize. This is actually in the eye opener too. It explains the TRC and why we use it. Okay. Next, I go right to the TRC form questionnaire, and I make sure you ask for permission to ask them some questions and to write their responses. So here's what you say. TRC stands for Trust, Respect, Customize. Okay, so look at where the white is. Make sure you ask permission to ask them some questions and write down the responses so you can customize the presentation. That's the secret. Which will allow you to respect their time. Right? Remember who was the guy that was going to throw Louis out in 30 minutes, right? This is gonna, by asking these questions, it's going to allow me to respect your time. And also to earn their trust by getting to know them a little better and finding out what is really important to them. So you're telling them up front, this is why I'm filling out this application. That's why I'm filling out, that's why I'm asking you these questions. Ask all the questions in the form exactly in the order they are set up. So I used to skip around. I used to skip questions, especially in my warm market. You know somebody in your warm market that you're like, this guy would never quit his job. He's never going to work here. And I would skip the question about coming to the BPM. And I don't know how many recruits I probably would have had if I would have just done it the way Ed told us to do it, which is don't skip any questions. Remember, the #1 job of a field trainer is to sell the dream to the trainees. That's the #1 job. If you're a field trainer, your #1 job is to make that trainee know that they can do this. If you can emphasize how easy this business is by making your presentation as simple and duplicatable as possible, you'll not only build the trainee's confidence, but you'll more likely than not, allow the clients to see them as something that they could do as well. So if you're too polished, if you know too much, the person you're sitting across the table is going to go, yeah, of course this guy can do it, but I don't see myself doing that. You guys know that some of you guys have been here like a year or two, right? You already know more than anybody you'll probably ever meet. And when you sit across from somebody that has no idea what you're talking about, they're not going to come to the BPM. They're going to go, I could never be like Hope. Hope has a photographic memory, just so you know. I could never do that. She knows that. I can't remember anything I don't write down, right, Hope?
We have to work on that. You do. That's interesting because I think you point that out every time we're in the field together.
It's true. It's true, but see, so Hope has a challenge. Hope's challenge is not to look like she's smarter than the people that she's talking to, because if she looks like she's smarter than the people she's talking to, they're not going to think they can do it. You at least have to get down to their level. Ed used to call it a 4th grade level. This stuff is, for some people, is scary and it's complicated. You've got to get your presentation down to a 4th grade level. I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's true.
Lily brought up a real good point when we met with one of my friends, in that I asked her, well, how do you think I could have improved the presentation?
That's a great question, buddy.
And then she says, well, Linda, you know what, you've been reading too much off the screen. And then after we were done, he says, you know what, keep reading off the screen.
Yes.
You know, because then it shows you're not a know-it-all.
Yeah. Well, it also shows that she can do it if she knows how to read. I take that sheet out. I've seen that sheet 1,000 times. I still take it out and read it. I don't want them to think that it's not something they can do. If I did the whole thing from memory, they're gonna go, I'm never gonna be able to memorize that. Hope can memorize it, but I can't memorize it, right? I don't care. And I probably could do it without the sheet. I'm sure I could. I've done it thousands of times. But I still take it out and read it. I still take out the data click and ask all the questions.
Jim, do we get a copy of your presentation?
I don't know how much you're gonna pay me.
Robert Lunch.
He said
Dollars
it's-
plenty.
He said it's no cost.
I have handouts. I have handouts.
I know.
Yeah, it's not the whole presentation.
Oh.
The whole presentation you gotta get from your SMD.
SMD.
Because I don't want things getting out that might get, this is not for use with the client. You can only use it for you.
Right.
Okay. Ask the, okay, if you can emphasize, okay, we already talked about this. Okay, we just did all that. Okay. Page down. A few reminders. Remember, everyone you meet is a potential business partner until they're proven otherwise. The people you think won't do it are probably the most likely to do it, and the ones you think are guaranteed they'll come down, they're money hungry, are the ones that usually won't. It's usually the opposite. So don't ever never give up on anybody. Give everybody the opportunity. You never know who's going to say yes. Once they get down here, Ricky knows, if it's me or Ricky, they're going to get close, right, Ricky?
Yep.
We have a little contest going on.
Isn't that high pressure sales?
No, it's not. The best way to close somebody is get them to close themselves. The same way to get them to buy something is to get them to want to buy it. If it's their idea, they'll do it. If it's your idea, they'll sell it. You must be as simple and duplicatable as possible, both for your potential clients as well as for your trainee. Keep in mind that facts tell and stories sell. So the more stories you get into your presentation, the more your clients will remember. People remember stories. They don't always remember facts. So if you can put your presentation into a story, they're going to remember it after you leave. You give them a bunch of facts. So that's why, Belinda, when you're reading the chart, that's okay. But just throw a story in there. Just say, hey, by the way, just stop for a minute and just go, hey, I didn't know this either. Let me tell you about the story about how I learned it. Or let me tell you about the story about how it helped me. And now a story is not something that they have to memorize because it's your story. It's not their story. But it gives you credibility.
It's not a guarantee, that's what that works too.
Yeah. Also remember that in any conversation, the person asking the question is the one in control. And if you say it, they doubt it, but if they say it, they own it. So even if you know the answer to a question, your goal would be to get them to say it, not for you to say it.
Well, can you give an example?
Sure. So let's say somebody asks me, I have this, term life insurance policy. And they say, I don't even know, can you tell me if that's a good product? Right? And I say, well, what were you trying to do with it? Well, we're trying to make it last as long as we do. Well, does that sound like, this policy is going to run out in 20 years, does that sound like it's going to last as long as you do? Well, no. Well, do you think that there might be something else that would you like something else that might be more permanent? So, even though I gave them a bunch of information, they're the ones that are telling me what they want. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Just think about it, though. You don't have to be that polished.
You're a pro.
No, you just have to think. No, here's what you have to think. And the only reason is because I've been more on appointments than you, but you just have to think about it. Like, how can I ask this in a way that gets them to say it in themselves? So just, if you think about it, it'll come to you. It's just something you have to think about. It's not the way people are normally used to talking. Everybody likes to make statements. They want to show people how much they know. And you're actually better off getting them to tell you something, even if you know the answer.
Because I'm a statistics person.
Okay, statistics can work too. Okay, remember that people don't necessarily need to believe everything you're telling them, but they need to believe that you believe it. So again, the sixth sense thing. If you really believe what you're telling them, they're going to believe. They don't have to believe everything that you say. What they have to believe is that you believe what you're telling them. And that's easy. You just don't tell them anything you don't believe. It's not that hard. Okay, I think I'm almost done. Am I out of time? No? No, there was no VPM. Is VPM over?
Yeah.
So this is actually, the only other thing I have is the 5 closing commitments. So these are my favorite, I'm going to hand this out. These are things that I asked during the presentation. Okay, one of them is, what do you do for a living? That sounds like a good job. Are you locked into that job for the rest of your life, or do you keep your option open? You hear people say this all the time, but when you're in front of them, it's different when you say it on the phone, because on the phone you can sound like a recruiter. But when you're in their home and you're filling out the application, and you say, how much do you like your job, or what do you not like about it? Now it's more of a conversation. It's not you trying to recruit them. I'm just filling out the form. What do you like about your job? Right? Are you going to stay there for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
I'm just filling out the form. I'm not putting my opinion. I don't know. It might be a great job. How do I know? They're the ones answering it, not me. Where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years? That's a great question to ask people. It doesn't matter how old they are. Ask them where they see themselves in the next 3 to 5 years. How do you feel about this so far? Most people have a communication technique, let's just call it. Some people are auditory, so you have to ask them that question. How does this sound to you? That's auditory. How does this feel? That's kinesthetic. They like to feel and touch, right? So how does this feel? That's a word. If somebody tells you this feels good, or I'm not feeling it, then you gotta respond with something like that. If they say, I don't like how this thing sounds, you automatically know you gotta use those kinds of words. That's how they communicate. Everybody has their own way of communicating. And logical people like you, Melinda, are gonna say that doesn't make sense to me. Now you're gonna think about what she's been saying all night. Did I say that word? This is a really good one. You ever ask anybody, my wife is famous for this, what do you want to have for dinner? What do you want to have for dinner tonight? She can never make up her mind. But if I say, what do you like better? Now it's just a choice. It's not what do I want, it's what would you like better. You give them a choice. So which would you like better? Or which one would you choose? If you had a term policy that lasts 20 years, or a permanent policy that lasts for as long as you do, which one would you choose? Maybe you took the other one, I don't know. But it doesn't matter, I gave you a choice. I didn't say which one do you want, I said which one would you choose, right? It's a different way of saying the same thing. Our goal as a company is to give people financial peace of mind. Can you put a price on what financial peace of mind would be worth to you? That's a great question to ask you. What would it be worth to you? If I could take away all of your financial problems, if you had to put a price tag on that, what would it be worth? You know what the number one answer usually is?
Priceless.
It's priceless. That's the value we talked about. That's the value. Doesn't cost them anything, but it definitely has value, right? Well, if I say it's free, then it doesn't have value, typically, and that's typically the way people think. Okay. I don't know where that one's going. Somewhere it took off. I don't know what happened there. Oh, there we go.
Came back.
Oh, is that the same one? No, it's different ones. Do you know what your FIN number is? Anybody ever hear that word before? Some of you know. So your FIN number is your financial independence number. Did you know that when you do a financial needs analysis and you print out the retirement page, there's a number there? That number, if they have that much money saved, they're financially independent. That's their FIN number. So most people, when you ask them if they want to retire, if you ask them when they're going to retire, the number one answer, never. But if you say, would you like to be financial independent, guess what they say? As soon as possible. It's basically the same thing. It's having enough money to live off for the rest of your life. It's the same thing. You just say it in a different way, right? How would you like to know how to achieve that? On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is that to you? I say this a lot. 1 to 10. Is that a 10? Is that a 9? Is it an 8? Is it a 5? You really want to know what the most important things are when you're talking to them, especially on a first appointment. There's a page on the FNA that says rate these things from 1 to 10. And then what I do is some of those things that it says are not things that they told me when I did the TRC, so you got to add those on there too. Don't forget to do that. Sometimes I forget, right, Hope? If they told you that the one thing they wanted to add on their agenda was something that's not in that questionnaire, you got to go, remember when you guys said this? Is that a 10? Probably it is, because it was something that they wanted to cover. It was very important to them. How does what I've shown you compare to what you are doing now? That's a great question. What do you think most people are doing right now? Not very much.
Worrying.
Yeah. If I were to ask you if you feel better about if you would like to feel better about your finances, what would you say? How will you know when you've achieved that? Some people say that they'll say something like, well, I don't know if I really need to save because I'm getting an inheritance. Or I'm going to be financially independent when I'm 35. I don't know. And the question is, how will you know that? How will you know if you're financially independent? How will you know that that you're going to be able to retire? What would it look like? I have people say, well, I want to retire, at 50. And I just ask them, what would that look like? What would have to happen? Where would you be? Where would you be living? Right? This happens all the time where somebody's at a job, all their money's going in the 401k, and they say, I want to retire at 50. That's a really easy one. That's awesome. All we need to do now is put it in some place where you can touch it when you're 50, right? That's all we have to do. That's an easy one.
Right.
Okay, who do you know that care about that could use this information? I ask that all the way through the question, especially if I'm doing a flip chart. If you do a flip chart and the guys are in their 50s and you're showing what a 29-year-old's going to get.
Who do you know that's 29?
Who do you know that's 29? that has been laid off, downsized, offered early retirement, or had their hours or pay cut? Do you know anybody like that? I'm not asking them, I'm asking them if they know anybody. Because guess what, when we do the referral sheet, it's not gonna just be for clients. The referral sheet's gonna say, just want you to know, we're always looking for good people. Who do you know? Who do you know that's been laid off? Who do you know that hates their boss? That's me. That was me 19 years ago. Who do you know that hates their boss? Who do you know that's been on a wage freeze for 3 years? Who do you know that got capped on their salary when they were 30? I'm just ranting to you guys. That was me.
Oh, bless your heart.
Okay. Oh, I did it again.
Fantastic.
It keeps going back. Okay. 5 commitments, the last slide. There's a handout, but I just want to go through it with you really quickly. We're out of time.
This isn't the handout you're giving?
Yes, I'm handing this out, right as we speak. These are all in there. But I just want to go through them really quick because I want you guys to hear me say it, okay? Time. We've discussed many important things today. So these are the 5 commitments. The first one is time. A specific time to come back. Okay? This is what that looks like. You know, we've discussed many things today, and I've taken some information that I'll use to go back to the office and develop a strategy for you. God bless you. What would be the best time for me to come back? Wednesday at 6 or Thursday at 8? You guys all know this. You don't tell them when can I come back. Here's what I got on my schedule. I got 6 o'clock Wednesday, or I got Thursday 8. You choose. Which one would be better for you, right? I'm not having them look at their whole schedule, because guess what? People are busy. You tell me, do you have another hour in the next 2 days? No, we're busy. What's going on at 6 o'clock on Wednesday? Oh, nothing.
So what do you do when they do push back?
I look for another time. What do you mean, what's a pushback? Give me a pushback.
Oh, I had one, where, okay, I'll see you tomorrow, nope, I'm busy. Well, then I'll see you the next day, nope. How
No.
about next week?
So ask it a different way. Here's what I have available. Remember when the trainee introduced me? I really want to thank Jim for coming out. He's so busy. He has clients every single day. I was able to get a half hour to meet with you guys. So when I get to the end, I say, you know what? Let me look at my schedule. I might be able to meet with you guys this week. Here's the 2 times I'm available. Which one's better for you? I'm not asking them if they have an hour or what they're. I'm asking them which one's better for them. Pick one, right? They might still say they can't do either one of those, and then I'll just go for another one. Here's what I do if I can't get a commitment. That's to answer your question. This is what I do. Hope's going to know this because I do it all the time. Let's just pencil something in.
I've actually started using that, it's great. Well, let's
If
just
you need
pencil something in, if anything changes, you can let me know, but this way, we've got it on our calendars.
90% of the time, they don't change it. Very rarely.
Apparently pencil, because it can be erased, is much less committed.
Well, I do it because when I started doing this, all we had was pencils.
They hadn't invented the ink pen yet?
No.
Not even a quill.
So to do business, when I come back with your strategy, if it's significantly better than what you're already doing, is there any reason you can think of that you wouldn't want to move forward at that time and get started? Wait for them to say yes. Great. So if the plan makes sense, you'll feel comfortable writing a check for the first month's deposit and submitting that with an application if we need to. That's a commitment. That's not wishy-washy. I'm telling them exactly what we're going to do when we come back. That's a commitment to do business. Okay? Money commitment. Do I have your permission to use and redirect any money that I find in your plan? So if I find out that there's extra money in your plan that you didn't know about, do I have your permission to redirect it so that you can retire early? Remember the goals that you guys said you wanted to do? In addition to that found money, are you still comfortable committing whatever amount they said that they could commit to on a monthly basis? Could you write a check for that every month in good times and bad? So in addition, so let's say they have a 401k and they're already putting 6% of their salary in it, right? You guys are great savers. I have very few clients that even do that. In addition to what you're already doing, is there any amount more than that that you can do? So first I'm going to say, do I have your permission to redirect what you're doing if it's something better for you, right? That's one commitment. The second commitment is there any amount of money that you can add to that? So not only did I get a commitment for what they could do, I got a commitment for what they're already doing, right? Good times and bad times. I don't want it to be something that they can't do. It has to be something they can do every week or every month. Referrals. In lieu of a fee, here's what you just talked about, right? In lieu of a fee, we'd like to ask, if you find a plan to be significantly better than what you're already doing, currently doing, would you be comfortable introducing us to 5 to 10 couples who might benefit from a similar plan? That's a yes or no. If they say no, we're probably not going to do business with you anyway. Wouldn't you rather know that before you do all the work?
Yeah.
What is 5 couples? How many referrals is 5 couples?
10 people.
10. 10. It's 10 people, right? BPM commitment. Lastly, we like to invite all our new clients to come down and visit our office. This will give you a chance. I got a great story for this. This will give you a chance to meet some of our other associates, see the office, and get a better feel for the company you're doing business with. We're going to have an open house for our clients. This would be next Wednesday or next Saturday morning. What would work best for you? For you both, if it's a husband and wife, you want to invite both of them. So I had a client, matter of fact, she was just here last week. I did a first appointment. I started to set up the second appointment, and I said, I don't know why I said this. I said, so I'll come back in a couple days, and we'll, you've got all the commitments. And she goes, I think I want to go to your office and see your office. I want to make sure that this is a real company. So I did the second appointment here. She asked me, I didn't even ask me if she could come down.
Wow,
So it's kind
that's
of
good.
yeah. Okay, that's it. I'm going to make the handouts. We're over time. I apologize. We went a little bit over. So if everybody could grab one of these and hand them down. These are my overcoming objections that I talked about, and the 4 pre-frames and the 5 commitments. Okay. One of the things you're going to have to get good at is knowing how to do this. I still have people that I train though that will look at those before they go. So it's okay to read them. I have a guy that I train right now that reads so you guys know what the Bill Gates story is?
Yeah.
He reads it every single time. And it's so funny because he actually does know it, but he still reads it. And it's almost like a joke to the guy. Matter of fact, the guy that he's known for 45 years, he goes, this is what he says to him, because he's real good friends with the guy. He says, he goes, oh, before we finish, I got to read you this story about Bill Gates. And he takes it out and he starts reading it to him. And this is what the guy said. The guy used to be a sales trainer. Like, he's been retired for like 20 years. He goes, he looks at it and he goes, he goes, I really wouldn't be interested, he's in his 70s, I really wouldn't be interested in going back to work. He goes, but you should keep telling that story. That was pretty good. Okay, thank you all for your time. I'm sorry.
Good job. Play the bass in the conference room. Play bass.
Did you get that tape? Can you get a link of it to where you can see this part of it? Or can we put it on the group? That would be really good for a bunch of people to see tonight. Okay, got it. What do they call you again? Brick House. I think I like my Brick House better. Let's go. What's up, man?
Sorry.
It's just that stuff.
Well, I thought through it
See if it's still recording? ¿Qué?
¿Te quieres esta semana?
Go ahead.
¿Te quieres esta semana?
¿Qué?
¿No sabes nada? ¿Para qué preguntas español?
Véngame a translation. Véngame a translation.
¿Qué es una translation?